Morning YouTube, this is Josh from Josh's Maintenance Talk. Working on the intro. I'm not the most competent person when it comes to editing videos, so my little brothers are helping me out here. But today we're going to be talking about dikes and linesmans, my experience with them. I've got quite a few actually, so we'll just jump right on in. The first one I have, it's called Elite. I do believe I got this at a hardware store, just like one of those local ones like True Bolts or True something like that. They're okay. I've had them for a while. They're not the greatest in terms of professional, but they're okay. I mean, they cut everything you needed to cut. You know, you have to really pull on them to really cut anything major, so I wouldn't use them professionally, but around the house, they're not bad. Now let's talk about the ideal. We use them a lot for electrical class. They're fine. The only issue I have with them is the cutters are not very long. You get lots of leverage, but they're not, just the length of them isn't the greatest. So when you really want to cut a couple wires, 3 wires or anything like that, it struggles a little bit. The other one I want to talk about, if you're on a budget, I would recommend is the DeWalt's. The handles I love because they don't roll away. Some of the handles, if you get the soft cushion grip ones, will, with the oil and everything else. If you're just an electrician, you probably don't have to worry about that. The other aspect is I don't care much for is the curved, but I can easily get over that. If you're pulling out staples or something along those lines, as an everyday electrician, that might be something you're more a fan of than I am. They also came with the sharp edges. They just tore up my maintenance pouch. I have like a little 9 pocket pouch. I'm trying out the leather one now, so it won't be as bad, but I had to take some emery cloth, take out the edges a little bit. And then you might be able to see it's got this little groove here. It's good for getting into and get the little staples. They've been fine. I've been able to get in the small spaces and everything else with them, cutting wire, and they've been great. So I would recommend these if you're on a budget. The other ones are these. The brand is Susana, something like that. They are like 15-20 bucks on Amazon. They're great. It's kind of hard to tell, but they got this weird shape to them. They're great for cutting zip ties. If you're doing lots of zip ties, I recommend them. They cut flush. They're amazing in that regards. I like the little, because like if your robot gets stuck and you got a little bit of welding wire, you can get in there and clip it and you'll free up your robot. So I enjoyed them a lot. They're not good for much else, so be wary of that. It's kind of one of those niche things. Tried and true, my Knipex. These things, as you can tell, I can grab my name, but they're beat. I've had them for about 6 months now, about 4, I guess 4 months. Yeah, 4 months. They hammer once in a while. I try not to beat on these because they're my pride and joy, but 10 inches of leverage, you are going to cut anything, and if you can't cut it, you're going to grab another tool anyways. So they have been the bomb. Next, we'll talk about my Cobra for a second. I know it's not in the thing, but I kind of bashed on these and I found out why these are not the greatest. So there's 2 types of Knipex you can get with this style, with the Cobras. Is they have grooves on both sides or grooves on one side. If you get them from Menards, they only have grooves on one side, and as you can see, I'm not pushing the button and they're just sliding. So when you're buying Knipex, Cobras, and alligator pliers, probably the same way. Be careful of the cheaper ones because they won't have that smooth face, and they're teeth-wise and everything, they grip on great, but they just slide around. I thought I was getting a heck of a deal, not paying $50, and it came back to bite me. The other thing let's talk about is my linesmans. So first and foremost, channel. A guy in class gave them to me. He loved them. I loved them. However, they just don't have the extra few inches of leverage to really cut on something if you need to. Other than that, they're great. I'm gonna use them obviously as a hammer once in a while too, but the knurling on them is pretty good, not too bad. It's kind of cross stitching. There's nothing wrong with them. Like I said, they're good for lightweight applications. I know clients got the new hybrid one, so I'd probably pick those over these, but they're not bad. They just don't have the leverage. I'm gonna bash on these though. These are the Harbor Freight ones. They are okay for if you're a hobbyist, I guess, but if you're going to do this professionally or even in a maintenance setting, if you're doing any amount of electrical, I would not recommend them. yeah, that's just my personal 2 cents. Now, as you can tell, Milwaukee's are a little beat up. At work we have spot weather, so they use water to cool them down and everything. So we have lots of water. They rusted out a little bit. The cutters for the screws are kind of cool. The reamer is actually pretty functional, I'm not gonna lie. As much as I bash on them. I use them as a hammer. The front is a hammer. If I had bigger hands, I'd probably like them. I'm not saying I have small hands or anything, but they're not the greatest. Yeah, I mean, they're serviceable. If you're on a budget, I would actually probably recommend getting like the ideal ones. But yeah. Now we're talking about ideal. Most of the guys in class that bought the ideal have not been too impressed with them. They almost all went to Klein. As a hammer, they're fine. As normal linesmen, they're okay. They're just like a step below Klein. I do like how they have the fish tape puller. They got the crimper, which I really do like, and they have a little bit of stuff you can grab onto. Other than that, I mean, they're fine, serviceable. I wouldn't recommend them. I'd rather get the Klein, or in my case, I love my Greenlee. These Greenlees were like $18, $22, something like that. I can't remember exactly now. But they're an amazing hammer. I mean, linesman's, same thing to me. I use them for all sorts of things. They're starting to give a little bit now. I don't know if you can see that. The hot rivet's starting to give a little bit, but I've had them for 6 months and I beat on them like no other. So they've lasted better than anything else I've had. So I'd recommend the Greenlee ones. Now, you figured out how to work this thing yet?
Shut up.
All right.
You know. I'll tell you.
I know a lot, but
I was also not sure first, but fine, good.
Alright, like, guys, subscribe, leave a comment. More content's obviously to come, so if you'd like to see anything or have any questions, just ask away and let me know. Y'all have a beautiful day.